Yes. Good morning, all of you. In today's session, we are going to start with CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science, June 2014, Part C, Series 7. By this entire question paper of June 2014 is going to be completed in this session. So it is not possible to record all the questions, all the detailed solution for all the questions in the single lecture. That's the reason why it was made into different series, and for Part C, it was made into 7 series. Each series consists of 10 questions, right? So earlier we prepared the solved question papers of 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 question papers are both the sessions including June and December. And all the detailed solved question papers are available on the channel called World of Competitive Chemistry. This kind of standard previous year question paper of CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science will fetching you towards your research aspiration if you are preparing for any competitive exam or any entrance examination as well, right? Let us go with our today's concept, that is CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science June 2014 Part C Series 7. It consists of questions from 131 to 145. 15 questions are going to be discussed in today's session. Let us start with question number 131. The translational, rotational, vibrational partition function of the molecule are provided as if translation value is given as 10 to the power 10, if rotational given and if vibrational both are exactly is equal to unit 1, and kBT by H, this is a constant which is provided as 10 to the power 13 at room temperature. Na is equal to 6 into 10 to the power 23, being it is the Avogadro number will be constant for all the atoms. Using approximate data given above, frequency factor A for the reaction of the type atom plus diatomic molecule can combine, and there is a formation of non-linear transition state. Mechanism proceeded with the non-linear transition state and eventually converted into a product. According to the conventional transition state theory, what could be the product? See, here is the system associated with translational, rotational, and vibrational, right? So here, translational motion and followed by rotational and followed by vibrational. These many motions are available within the molecule. So this is a part of question which is given from spectroscopic analytical method, where vibrational changes, stretching and bending vibrations are possible, and rotation of the molecule along its axis is possible, and translational motion is also available within the molecule. So when we incorporate all these, that kind of system which is associated with a frequency factor of 6 into 10 to the power 7. So for question number 131, option number 2 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 132. The interplanar spacing for 1, 1, 0 planes in the cubic unit cell where the lattice parameter A is equal to 4.242 angstroms. Right? This is a question from solid state chemistry. We are going to incorporate these Miller indices and the unit cell length values in the interplanar spacing formula. Interplanar spacing is denoted with D. D is equal to, so D is a parameter which is calculated for HKL Miller indices is equal to A by under root H square plus K square plus L square. HKL are denoted as the Miller indices. A is the unit cell length. HKL squares again squares of Miller indices only, right? So here HKL Miller indices within the problem they mentioned 1, 1, 0. H will be 1, K will be 1, L will be 0 here. Now let us incorporate all the numerical values in this formula. DHKL is equal to 4.242 angstroms by root 1 square plus 1 square plus 0 square. So if you take this root 1 plus 1, it will become, then 4.242 by under root 2 can be taken. Root 2 value will be 1.41. If you incorporate the ratio of 4.4 times by 1.41 will be 3, right? Here, interplanar distance between the Miller indices 1, 1, 0 plane, 4.242 unit cell will be given as 3. So this will be 3 will be the interplanar distance for question number 132. Let us move on to question number 133. A compound AXBY has a cubic structure. A atom occupying all corners of the cube as well as faces of the central position. This clearly denotes that the system is a kind of face-centered cubic lattice, right? B atoms are occupying tetrahedral voids. The values of X and Y respectively. Here is the system. Here is the crystal structure is there. Here is the what crystal structure is there, which accompanied by two kind of atoms, A and B. A is associated with X number of atoms and B is associated with Y number of atoms. We have to predict X and Y values for this FCC crystal lattice. For that purpose, here is the FCC crystal lattice which is provided in this diagram, where you can find atoms which are contributing in the 8 corners and 6 faces as well. FCC crystal lattice is composed of 8 corners and 6 faces. In case of corners, each atom is contributed by 1 by 8. In case of phases, each atom is contributed by 1 by 2, right? So in this manner, we will predict the number of A atoms. A atoms are occupying these corners as well as phases of the system. So here corners, how many corners we have? 8 corners. Each atom contributing 1 only. That's why 8 into 1 by 8, 8 get cancelled. Then each corner, the number of atoms will be only 1. When you go with phases, how many phases are there? 6 phases are there. Front, back, top, bottom, left, right. So here 6 phases will be there. Each atom contributing 1 by 2. So the 2 3s, it will become 3. So 1 atom in the corners, 3 atoms in the faces. So this will be contributed for A number of atoms. This will be the X value. X value is equal to 3 plus 1, right? 4 it will be. Now let us move on to B. How many B atoms are there? So that is denoted with Y value. In order to obtain the Y value, here we have a tetrahedral. B atoms are occupying the tetrahedral voids. Tetrahedral void is generated by 3 phase containing atoms and 1 corner atom will be contributed for this tetrahedral void. Here you can see octahedral void. Here is a tetrahedral void. But within the problem, they specifically mentioned only tetrahedral void. 1 corner, 3 phases will incorporated here. So in the same manner, how many tetrahedral voids will be there for FCC lattice? 4 tetrahedral voids will be there. Correspondingly, 4 atoms will contributing for D number of atoms, right? B Y value becomes 4. A atoms are 4 and B atoms also 4. A4, B4 will be the correct one. For question number 133, option number 1 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 134. The number of lines in the ESR spectrum of deuterated CD3. The spin value of D is taken as 1. So ESR spectrum, when considered electron spin resonance spectroscopy, this is the matter of free radicals. Whatever odd electron containing species, paramagnetic species are present, their corresponding spectral signals can be interpreted by ESR spectroscopy. When we are taking CD3 dot, means CD3 free radical, deuterated trihydrogen C, methane, we can take. So in this case, in order to predict the ESR spectral lines, we have to use the empirical formula 2Ni plus 1. N denotes number of deuterium atom present. I is the angular momentum value which is provided as 1 for this one. And 2Ni plus 1 formula can be implied 2 into. Here, being it is a tri-deuterated system, you can assign N is equal to 3. And I angular momentum value will be 1. Its spin state will be taken as a 1. 2 into 3 plus 1. 6 plus 1, it will be 7. How many spectral lines are probable for this ESR spectroscopy of CD3? 7 lines are possible. It will be the septate. So for question number 134, option number 4 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 135. When C double bond O, it is said to be carbonyl. Bond length is 120 picometers PM in carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide being it is a linear molecule, here you can find C double bond O, C double bond O. 2 C double bond O groups can be possible. And there, being it is a symmetrical molecule, you can assign the bond distance between the carbon and oxygen as 120 picometers. The moment of inertia of carbon dioxide would be closer to mass of carbon and oxygen will be 1.9 into 10 to the power minus 27 kilograms, 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 27 kilograms respectively, right? Here, masses of carbon and oxygen are given to us And even bond length of carbon oxygen carbonyl means a double bond length is also provided as 120 picometers. Moment of inertia for the given molecule, carbon dioxide molecule, to be depicted. For that purpose, we have the formula. This is a molecule called carbon dioxide. It is a linear symmetrical molecule, and this atomic distance between the carbon and oxygen will be 120 picometers, and being it is a symmetrical, both the bond lengths are exactly equal. And you can find the atom, central atom to the terminal atom, that is denoted with the radius r. Ia is equal to ma r. Moment of inertia is given by ma into r square. Moment of inertia of carbon dioxide is given by I CO2 is given by MOR CO2, right? So this will become 2mR CO2. Why? Because in both the sides we have symmetrical phase, so that here both the dimensions of these two will become exactly equal, so that it will become I CO2 is equal to 2MOR CO2, right? 2 into MO value is provided to us. How much it is? How much it is? 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 27. 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 27, that will be the mass of oxygen, right? Into 120 into 10 to the power minus 12. Carbon will be 1.9 into 10 to the power minus 12 will be provided to us. Then we will go with 5 into 10 to the power minus 27 into 12 into 10 to the power minus 11 whole square can be taken, because here the value is doubled, right? So it will become 720 into 10 to the power minus 27 into 10 to the power minus 22, because we have to double this value, so that it will become 10 to the power minus 27 into 12 into 10 to the power minus 22, it will be 10. So here base values are same, so that here their powers can be added. So if base is same, powers can be added. Summation of both the powers are possible. It will be 720 into 10 to the power minus 49. And you can write the same one in the form of 7.2 into 10 to the power minus 47. This will be the final answer, which is provided in option number D. For question number 135, option number D will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 136. The fluorescence lifetime of molecule in a solution is 5 into 10 to the power minus 4. The sum of all the non-radiative rate constants, sigma KNR, denotes what? Non-radiative rate constants for the decay of excited state is 1.2 into 10 to the power 8 second inverse. The fluorescence quantum yield of the compound is, right? Fluorescence quantum yield to be depicted for the given molecule. For that purpose, we have the formula. Quantum yield Q is given by rho into KNR. Rho denotes rate of the radioactive decay. KNR is the rate of radioaction less decay. So radiation less decay is denoted with KNR. That is called non-radiative rate constant. So radiation will not be emitted by that kind of molecules, right? So lifetime tau is given by 1 by rho plus KNR. Then tau n is given by 1 by rho. Then tau n is also taken as a tau by q, right? So this will be the formula which will help us to solve the problem. Q is equal to rho by rho plus KNR. Radioactive decay by rate of radiation less decay can be taken here. If we substitute all the values, 2.88 into 10 to the power minus 9 by 2.88 into 10 to the power 8 plus 1.2 into 10 to the power 8, the value will become 0.4. So here quantum yield, fluorescence quantum yield is calculated as 0.4. That 0.4 is provided in the option number 3. For question number 136, option number 3 will be the right answer. This is a question which is given from photochemistry. Fluorescence, phosphorescence, all these belongs to photochemistry only. So fluorescence is the immediate emission of the radiation, whereas phosphorescence means after the light source removed, there is a slow glow of the molecule is possible. That is said to be a phosphorescence. These are the process whenever light absorbed by the molecule and back emission is possible. In that case, you can observe this fluorescence and phosphorescence kind of phenomenon. For this purpose, we are employing this quantum yield of the product. That quantum yield is calculated as 0.4 for this molecule. For question number 136, option number 3 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 137. Solution of three electrolytes have the same ionic strength and different dielectric constant values 4, 25, 81. Ionic strength I denoted that will be same for three molecules, but dielectric constant values are different 4, 25, and 81. The corresponding relative magnitude of Debye-Huckel screening length of the three solutions are here Debye-Huckel screening. Then what will be the length of three solutions to be predicted? For that purpose, here solutions of electrolytes having the equal ionic strength and different dielectric constant values are given for us. Dielectric constant values are 4, 25, and 81. Here, if you assign ionic strength of the molecule as I1, I2, I3 for three different respective electrolytic solutions, these values are exactly equal. I1 is equal to I2 is equal to I3. If we go with the dielectric constant, epsilon R1, epsilon R2, epsilon R3 were taken, and these values are entirely different, and whose magnitudes are provided 4, 25, and 81. These are provided to us within the problem. Then there is an empirical formula in order to predict the Debye-Huckel screening length, which is denoted with K prime. That is given as root epsilon R epsilon naught kBt by 2 E square NaI. This will be the formula. Under root ER E naught kBt by 2 E square NaI will be taken. K prime is proportional to here. If you clearly observe this entire concept, temperature being it is constant throughout the experiment, Kb being it is a constant value, Boltzmann constant was taken, and I is equal for all, right? So here Na is nothing but Avogadro number, it will be constant again. So that all the constant term except these, so that K prime is directly proportional to root epsilon R by I, right? Now we have the ratio of these three, that will be K1 prime, K2 prime, K3 prime ratio is exactly is equal to root epsilon R1, root epsilon R2, and root epsilon R3 ratio. So this will be the relation for this prediction of length of three solutions, right? So it will be taken as ER1 is nothing but Debye-Huckel constant, dielectric constant for the solution 1, which is provided as 4. Then dielectric constant for second solution is provided as 25. For third solution, the value will be 81. So that there is a ratio of root 4 is to root 25 is to root 81. Root 4 value will be 2, root 25 will be 5, root 81 will be 9. These are the values of corresponding lengths of the given electrolytic solutions, that is 2, 5, and 9, which are provided in the option number 2. For question number 137, option number 2 will be the correct answer. This is a question from electrochemistry, right? Ionic strength and dielectric constant values, which in turn used to calculate the length of the three solutions by using the Debye-Huckel screening formula, right? For question number 137, option number 2 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 138. Simple Huckel molecular orbital theory. Huckel molecular orbital theory, what it will do? So what is the application? Here is the application for this Huckel molecular orbital theory was given. And is it possible to identify electron-electron repulsions explicitly? Distinguishes cis and trans-butadiene, distinguishes cis-butadiene from trans-butadiene. Is it possible? Has different Coulomb integrals for non-equivalent carbons. What will be the correct application for this Huckel molecular orbital theory? This is denoted as HMO, right? Normal molecular orbital theory is different, and Huckel molecular orbital theory, which is denoted with HMO. What is the important application of this one? Let us Huckel approximation, especially used for the determination of energy and the shape of the pi molecular orbitals and the conjugated systems. The main application of Huckel molecular orbital theory will be what could be the energy of the orbital, and what is the dimensional shape of the orbital, and even for pi bonded systems which are present especially in the conjugation, alternative arrangement of pi bonds when present. In that condition, HMO can be employed. A conjugated system with a region of overlapping p orbitals bridging the interjoint single bonds that allows the delocalization of pi electrons across the all adjacent aligned p orbitals. Because of this kind of bridging alignment, there is a possibility of delocalization of electrons, and all pi electrons are moving across all the pi bonds which are in the conjugation, right? Huckel molecular orbital theory especially implied for the prediction of root of secular determinant. Root of secular determinant values can be predicted. Energy of the conjugated system, whether it may be cyclic or acyclic. You may take 1,3 butadiene of the open chain. Our benzene system was taken in the cyclic form. In both the cases, you can predict their energy, but the condition is they should be in the conjugation. And moreover, delocalization energy. So what is the delocalization energy? While moving from one space to another, what will be the energy requirement for that kind of movement of the electrons? That will be predicted by using this Huckel molecular orbital theory. The localization energy of cyclobutadiene. Let us predict for cyclobutadiene. That is given by the formula total energy of the conjugated system minus energy of the ethene units present into N. This will be the formula in order to predict its delocalization energy. In accordance with HMO, total energy of the conjugated system will be 2 into alpha plus 2 beta plus 2 alpha. This will be the total energy of the conjugated system minus energy of ethene units. Ethene units, how many are there? 2 ethene units are there. Each ethene unit contribute alpha plus beta. So 2 into alpha plus beta can be taken, and N. N means how many conjugated systems are there. Here you can find 2 double bonds within the molecule. 2 corresponds to number of double bonds present here, right? So this is the entire term which is required for the cyclobutadiene. Cyclobutadiene. So what we are taking, total energy of the molecule minus energy of the ethene units into N. Total energy of the molecule is given by 2 into alpha plus 2 beta plus 2 alpha minus energy of ethene units. How many ethene units are there? 2 ethene units. 2 into each ethene unit is associated with alpha plus beta, and N value is nothing but number of pi bonds present in the molecule. That will be 2 again. So when we substitute all these, when you expand the molecule, it can be written as 2 alpha plus 4 beta plus 2 alpha minus 4 alpha minus 4 beta. So that 2 alpha plus 2 alpha, it will become 4 alpha, right? Plus 4 alpha minus 4 alpha, both get compatiated. Plus 4 beta minus 4 beta also compatiated, so that the entire term of this delocalization energy will become 0, because all the terms got compatiated, cancelled exactly. So the delocalization energy assigned for the cyclobutadiene will be 0. And let us predict for cis 1,3 butadiene. Again, we are going to apply the same formula, total conjugate system minus energy of ethene units into N. Total energy can be given as 4 alpha plus 4.472 beta minus 2 into 2 alpha plus 2 beta. And then 4 alpha plus 4.4 beta minus 4 alpha 4 beta can be taken, and the leftover value will be 0.472. 0.472 beta value will be excess. So 4 can be cancelled, but some more value will be there, 0.472. This is for cis-butadiene. Based on this delocalization energy, can you separate these two molecules? Cyclohexane assigned with 0 energy, and the cis-butadiene is assigned with 0.472 energy, so that it is possible to distinguish cis-butadiene from cyclobutadiene. This is the application which is coming from the Huckel molecular orbital theory. So in accordance with this, for question number 138, option number 3 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 139. For non-dissociative Langmuir type adsorption of a gas on a solid surface at a particular temperature, the fraction of surface coverage is 0.6 at 30 bar. The Langmuir isotherm constant in bar inverse units at this temperature will be. Langmuir isotherm constant to be depicted in the bar inverse values, right? This is a question from surface chemistry and colloids, where Langmuir adsorption as isotherm can be employed here, right? So for non-dissociative Langmuir type of adsorption of the gas, here we have to predict Langmuir isotherm constant. Two kind of formulas you can find in the Langmuir adsorption isotherm. Theta denotes what? Fraction of coverage by the surface molecules. So theta is equal to Kp by 1 plus Kp. This is one of the formula. And second is Kp is equal to theta by 1 minus theta. This is another formula. if fraction of coverage is given, fraction of coverage value is already known, and isotherm constant K is required to be calculated, so that we have to move on with this second formula. So here, Langmuir adsorption is employed for two type of predictions. One is fraction of surface cover can be predicted by using the formula Kp by 1 plus Kp, right? So here, isotherm constant Kp also depicted if a fraction coverage value is already known. Kp is equal to theta by 1 minus theta, right? K into P, pressure, how much provided? That is provided in the 30 bars. So anyway, the final answer is also bars, so that here need not to change the pressure units. So that can be taken as a 30 is equal to fraction covered by the surface molecules as 0.6. So that we can incorporate K into 30 is equal to 0.6 by 1 minus 0.6. So 1 minus 0.6 nothing but 0.4, right? So that it will become 0.6 by 0.4, 3 by 2 can be taken here. So K into 30 is equal to 3 by 2. K is equal to 3 by 2 into 30. It will be 1 by 10 into 2. So the final answer will be 0.05 bar inverse. 0.05 bar inverse is provided in the option number 1. For question number 139, option number 1 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 140. For a set of 10 observed data points, the mean is 8. The variance is 0.04. The standard deviation and the coefficient of variance of the data are respectively, right? So here, 10 data points were provided to us. Among 10 data points, if you go for the mean of all these values are taken and they are summed, and by 10, they are calculated in this manner. Its mean value is taken as 8. And the variance will be 0.04. From this data, you have to predict standard deviation and covariance, coefficients of the variance. So these two terms to be predicted. For that purpose, standard deviation is given as under root of variance. Root of variance, square root of variance can be taken as the standard deviation. Directly we have a variance value. Under root of 0.04 can be taken. That exactly is equal to 0.2. So standard deviation value is taken as a 0.2, which is given in the option number C. No other option having that answer. By this also you can confirm the what will be the correct answer for this question number 40. Moreover, we are going to calculate the second parameter, that is coefficient of variation. It can be calculated by taking the formula sigma by x bar. X bar is nothing but mean value into 100, right? So coefficients of variation is nothing but percentage term it is. So that we are multiplying with 100, right? Sigma by mean value into 100. This is the formula in order to predict this coefficient of variation. Mean value is provided within the problem. What is the mean? 8. Then sigma value that just to be calculated, that is nothing but standard deviation 0.2, right? So now let us substitute all the known terms in the equation. Coefficients of variation is provided as 0.2 by mean value 8 into 100. 0.2 by 100, 8 into 100, it can be taken as 2.5%, right? Standard deviation is 0.2, but the coefficients of variation will be 2.5. It is provided in option number C. For question number 140, option number 3 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 141. In the Lineweaver-Burke plot of initial rate inverse versus initial substrate concentration inverse for the enzyme catalyzed reaction following Michael-Menten equation, y-intercept is 5000 if the initial enzyme concentration is 1 into 10 to the power minus 9. The turnover number is, this is a question given from biochemistry, where Lineweaver-Burke plot is employed, where initial rate inverse can be taken, 1 by R value can be taken, and initial substrate concentration 1 by S can be taken. So these two are the parameters from which graph is going to be plotted. Here intercept term is given as 5000. M inverse, more inverse can be taken, and the initial enzyme concentration is provided as 1 into 10 to the power minus 9. The parameter turnover number to be depicted. First, let us see what is meant by turnover number. In the Lineweaver-Burke plot of rate inverse and initial substrate concentration inverse, we have to depict turnover number. Turnover number is given like this. Turnover number is defined as maximum number of substrate molecules converted into the product per second by each active site. How many substrate molecule got converted into the product in a given time? That means a fraction of second. In that second, how many starting materials turned into a product? That is called as a turnover number. So it can be taken as in accordance with Michael-Menten equation. Enzyme treated with substrate proceeded with K1 rate constant. Enzyme substrate intermediate compound got generated through the fast reaction. Now it slowly fragmented into enzyme plus product. Enzyme plus product formation is possible, and it will be the rate determining step, being it is a slow step. It proceeded with K2 rate constant. This will be the generalized equation in order to predict this turnover number. And here is the formula for turnover number. K catalyst is equal to Vmax by the concentration of enzyme total. So this is the formula in order to predict this turnover number. We are going to apply K catalyst is equal to, this is nothing but turnover number is equal to Vmax by E concentration. So that is provided as 5000 into 10 to the power 9. V naught is, here is another formula in order to predict this one. V naught is equal to Vmax S by Km plus S concentration. S denotes for substrate concentration. So here V naught is given by Vmax by 2, so that we can incorporate that term. So V naught can be replaced with Vmax by 2 is equal to Vmax substrate by Km plus substrate concentration. So here, let us take this denominator terms towards this side, because the Km to be depicted, that is called a turnover number. So that Km plus substrate concentration is equal to Vmax S into 2 by Vmax value can be taken. So it is simplified as, because this substrate is going this side, Km is equal to Vmax S into 2 minus S by Vmax. So we can take the values 5000 into 1 into 10 to the power minus 9 into 2 minus 1 into 10 to the power minus 9 by 5000 can be taken. So if we calculate entire thing, it will be taken as 2 into 10 to the power 6. This will be the turnover number calculated in accordance with Michael-Menten formula. In accordance with Michael-Menten formula, so that it will be 2 into 10 to the power 6. Let us move on to question number 142. The E cross E direct product for D3 point group contains irreducible representations. It is a question given from group theory. E cross E value to be predicted. This value to be predicted from the given characteristic table. Here is the point group of D3 was provided, and what are the symmetry operations done in this kind of point group? E identity element, 2 C3 axis will be there, C3 C2 axis will be there, and irreducible representations are A1, A2, E2. These many irreducible representations are there, and this is the characteristic table for D3 point group, and we have to predict E into E value, right? So that product to be predicted. In order to get that, first we have to know some fundamental things which related with this table. RR denotes reducible representations. RR is nothing but reducible representations, which is nothing but which can be reduced further. IRR is nothing but irreducible representations. They can't be further reduced. Already they are in the reduced form. Further reduction of those things may not be possible. Those are said to be irreducible representations. If you want to calculate the reducible representations for E cross E, E cross E is going to be employed, so that I'm going to get 2 into 2. So irreducible representations can be taken here. 2 into 2 can be taken, minus 1 into minus 1 can be taken, 0 into 0 can be taken, because E cross E we are going to do, right? So E cross E, when we are going to do 2 into 2, minus 1 into minus 1, 0 into 0. Only this E term can be multiplied with its own parameter only. 2 into 2 itself, minus 1 into minus 1, 0 into 0 itself. So what will be the reducible representation of E cross E? 410. 410 value obtained. But we have to calculate for irreducible representations. For that purpose, chi-reducible representations we have summation. This is called sigma. Sigma is also known as summation. AI is nothing but coefficient parameter. Coefficient parameter means what will be the coefficient which can be employed for these irreducible representations. Summation AI chi I R R. There is an interrelation between irreducible representation with reducible representations, right? So here we are going to employ chi RR is equal to summation AI chi I R R formula, so that we can write here AI to be predicted first. First, we are going to predict coefficient values. For that purpose, AI is taken out. Now it will become 1 by H summation chi RR Z chi IRR can be taken. 1 by H denotes what? Sum of all these symmetry operations. What is the coefficient of E? 1 it will be. Coefficient of C3 will be 2. 1 plus 2, 3. Then what is the coefficient of C2? 3 it will be. So 1 plus 2 plus 3. So here H value will become 6. This is the sum of all the coefficient. So that can be taken as 1 by H. 1 by H summation chi RR Z chi IRR can be taken. So first we are going to calculate for A1. For that purpose, just now we discussed H value is 6. 1 by 6 it will be. Now we are going to take the sum of this 4 into 1 into 1. Right. So why 4? 4 is taken from this reducible representation value. 1 is taken from this A1 value. Right. So that is taken from that. Now in the more 1 can be taken here. 1 by R, 4 into 1 into 1 can be taken. Then plus. So what is the second term here? Second term is 1. 1 into what will be the C2 term? C2 coefficient will be 2. It can be taken as 2. Then what is the C2 parameter? C2 parameter is 1. C2 parameter is 1. So in this way, this 1 corresponds to reducible representation C2 value. Then this 2 corresponds to coefficient of the C3 value. Now this 1 corresponds to its irreducible representation value. Okay. So in this way, we took 1 into, sorry, for A1 we are calculating 1 into 2 into 1 plus 0. Why 0? Because reducible representation first for C2 term it will be 0, right? What will be the coefficient for that one? Coefficient will be 3. So 0, 0 into 3. And what is the reducible representation value? Minus 1. Minus 1 can be taken here. 0 into 3 into minus 1. So in this way, here we took the value for A1. 1 by 6 into 4 into 1 into 1. How much it will be? 4. Plus 2 into 1 into 1. How much it will be? 2. 0 into 3 into minus 1. Whatever the parameter multiplied with 0 will become 0 itself. So that this entire term will become 0. 1 by 6 into 4 plus 2 plus 0. So 1 by 6 into 6 it will be. So that you can compensate both the terms. For A1, the coefficient will be 1. Let us see in the options. A1 coefficient is given as 1 in the option number 1. A coefficient 2, this will be wrong one. A1 is not at all provided, so it is also wrong one. A1 provided with 2 coefficient, this is also wrong. From this first coefficient only you calculated its value. It will be the correct answer. Let us move on to calculate for A2 even. For A2, how can we calculate? 1 by 6 remains same because 1 by H value is the sum of all the coefficients. That will be taken as such. Then 4 into 1 into 1 coefficient of C2 can be taken here. And place 1 into 2 into 1 plus 0 it will be. Last term anyway it will become 0 because last term reducible representation E cross E term will be 0, right? So that for all, not only for A1, A2, even for E, you will get here 0 only, right? Now, let us add all the terms. 1 by 6 into 4 plus 2. Again, it will become 1 by 6 into 6. 6 to 6 get compensated. It will become, for A2, it will become 1 only, right? So A1, 1, A2, 1. In the similar manner, you can calculate for E also. So E can be calculated in the similar manner. So here, coefficient E also taken as 1. So the entire E cross E value will be A1 plus A2 plus E. That is provided in the option number 1. For question number 142, option number 1 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 143. Again, it is a part of group theory. The result of the product of C2X and C2Y is, right? What is the product of C2X and C2Y? We have to calculate. Let us see. We are taking three coordinates X, Y, Z. Three-dimensional coordinates were taken and we are going to apply C to X. When C to X applied, what happens? X remains same. Y, Z will be flipped in a manner. Its magnitude will be entirely changed. Initially, it will be positive. While flipping, it will be turned into negative. So that X remains as positive, minus Y minus Z will be there if we are rotating C2 axis with respect to X. X will be kept as a principal axis. Through that, we are flipping the molecule, and while rotating, its sign will be interchanged with the negative one. So that X minus Y minus Z will be obtained. Followed by C2Y rotation is going to be carried. C2Y rotation is going to be carried. Okay. So Y remains as such. When Y remains as such, so Y is taken as a principal axis. Through that, we are going to flip the molecule, right? So that X value will be interchanged as minus X, and minus Z changes its sign into plus Z, right? So minus Y remains as such because we are taking this minus Y as the principal axis. Through that, we are rotating the molecule. C2 rotation is going to be carried, so that positive sign of X will be turned into minus X, negative sign of Z will be turned into Z, and minus Y will not be interchanged. This will be the final one. What is the final one? So when we are going to employ C2X and C2Y kind of rotation, the final one will be minus X, minus Y, and Z. Let us rotate the starting material with the C to Z axis. We are taking Z axis as the principal axis, and through the Z, we are going to rotate the molecule. So C2 rotation is going to be employed. Z remains constant, so that flipping of X and Y are possible. There is an interchange of their sign. So X will become minus, Y also becomes minus, Z remains positive. So that it will be minus X minus Y, Z is the rotation of C to Z. So when you observe after the C to X, subsequently C to Y, whatever rotation you got, similarly, same kind of operation is possible with C to Z. So the product of C to X and C to Y exactly is equal to C to Z. So exactly is equal to C to Z, because the final attempt of rotation is identical with the C to Z rotation, Z axis rotation. That is given in the option number C. For question number 143, option number C will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 144. This is a part of electrochemistry, where ferrous hydroxide solid can be taken with the 2 electrons and turned into iron solid. Metallic iron solid got generated plus 2OH minus aqua solution. Its standard electrode potential value is given as minus 0.877 volts. Aluminium tripositive aqueous can be added with 3 electrons and turned into aluminium solid metallic, and standard electrode potential is provided as minus 1.66 volts. Then silver bromide aqueous solution is treated with electron and it turned into a metallic silver plus bromide aqueous solution, and its standard electrode potential will be 0.071 volts. The overall reaction for the cell in the direction of spontaneous change would be, the condition for spontaneous change will be EMF should be positive. In order to attain the EMF positive, what will be the feasibility of the reaction we have to depict, right? For that purpose, here different options are provided. We have to predict which will be the correct one. If we construct the galvanic cell among the A and B half cells, otherwise A and C half cells, what is the nature of iron to be predicted? Here two conditions are provided. A, B taken to construct the galvanic cell. Otherwise, A, C are taken to construct the galvanic cell. So let us construct the galvanic cell by taking A and B half cells. A half cell is provided with the standard potential minus 0.877. B half cell is provided with the E0 value minus 1.66. Here, which is having higher magnitude of its reduction potential. What it will be? So when you observe clearly, being both are negatively signed one, so that here lesser the negative value, greater the extent of magnitude, right? So this will be the higher reduction value. A will be the higher reduction value when compared to B value, right? So here A higher reduction, that implies A will be anodic in nature, right? So A will be higher reduction value, that will be, it will be cathodic in nature. B will be what, lesser reduction value, so that it will be anodic in nature. A will be cathode, B will be anode. Always which will be reduced, which will be oxidized? Cathode will be reduced always. There is a interrelation. Cathode will be reduced always and anode will be oxidized always. Oxidized always. That's the reason why A is composed of what? A is composed of iron. So iron being its potential is seeking electrons, so that it will be iron will be where you can find A cell is associated with higher reduction potential, hence iron got reduced, because aluminum having higher oxidation potential, being it is an anodic compartment, and it will lose the electrons and iron will accept the electrons from aluminum. So iron got reduced. So whenever electrons are accepted, that state is said to be a reduction, and aluminum being oxidized and iron will be reduced in this case. Let us construct the galvanic cell among A and C half cells. A is made up of iron, B is made up of silver. Sorry, C is made up of silver bromide. So let us see the standard electrode potential values for individual half cells. For iron half cell, it will be minus 0.877. For silver bromide half cell, it will be minus 0.07. Where can you find the least magnitude of the value, standard electrode potential? What it will be? Minus 0.07 will be higher the value when compared to minus 0.8. So it will be the cathode and participate in oxidation. Cathode always participate in reduction. Moreover, being iron, work like a anode and it will participate in a oxidation, right? So in this manner, iron will be oxidized, silver bromide will be reduced in the AC galvanic cell. So when you clearly observe AB iron reduced is the correct one only, AC iron reduced is the wrong statement, because in the AC galvanic cell, iron will be oxidized, right? AB iron reduced is the correct statement. Among iron and aluminum, aluminum will be the oxidation potential. Aluminum will be the anodic potential, right? So AB iron will be reduced, that is the correct statement. AC iron will be oxidized is the correct statement. AC iron will be oxidized. Silver will be reduced always, right? That is provided in the option number 2. For question number 144, option number 2 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to last question of the series, 145. The reagent A used in the and the major product B formed in the following reaction sequence are. We are taking the cyclic lactam system. Lactam is nothing but nitrogen adjacent with a carbonyl called amide, which is present in this ring system called lactam. And this is N-methylated 4-membered ring system. And A reagent is added, subsequently turned into a reduced form, because initially we have ketonic functional group, now we turned into only amine. This turned into a tertiary amine system, and subsequently added with one more reagent called bromine cyanide, bromine nitrile you can say, and final product B will be originated. In this, A and B to be predicted. A is the reagent, B is the product. So one reagent they are asking, in either product is also asking. So let us see with the series of reactions carried in this and what could be the reagent and the product generated in this reaction mechanism, right? So in order to achieve this conversion of carbonylic functional group into completely reduced form, what is the suitable reagent? They provided with lithium aluminum hydrate, sodium borohydrate, hydrogen palladium carbon. Among all, it is very obvious that lithium aluminum hydride will be the stronger reducing agent, Being sodium borohydride mild reducing agent, it will turn this carbonyl group into hydroxy, not into completely saturated one. So that, and proof for that also provided here. Whenever primary amide system was taken and treated with lithium aluminum hydride, it subsequently converted into primary amine. Complete reduction of carbonyl group got carried in the presence of strong reducing agent. This is the proof for the conversion. If you are taking secondary amide, that converted into corresponding secondary amine, and a tertiary amide when subjected to reduction with the lithium aluminum hydride and subsequently turned into a tertiary amine. So this will be the proof for the reducing nature of lithium aluminum hydride, so that whatever the amide you are taking, its eventual product of amine will be generated. So here the suitable reagent for this conversion A will be lithium aluminum hydride, that is provided in option number 1 and 2. We have to predict what will be the final product. For that purpose, we have to check out its polarization of bromine cyanide, bromine nitrile. So among bromine and cyanofunctional group, being bromine is a halogen family, carbon, obviously carbon electronegativity will be less when compared to halogen, right? That's the reason why bromine will acquire the negative charge partially, and the carbon will lose the electrons and partial positive charge is assigned for this nitrile functional group. This will be the polarization of bromine cyanide. Being both are negatively charged in general, but both are bonded by covalent bond, there is a partial shifting of electron towards bromine, being it is a more electronegative when compared to cyano. That's the reason why it is acquiring partial negative and partial positive assigned for the cyanofunctional group, right? And when you observe the cyclic nitrogen containing azitidine system, this is called azitidine system, and it is obvious that bonded electrons will shift towards the nitrogen, being it is a more electronegative when compared to the carbon. Nitrogen will be more electronegative compared to carbon, so that bond shifting will be in this direction itself, so that carbocation and nitrogen negative charge will be generated. And we are going to add opposite charges. Bromine negative will be attached to carbocation, cyanide positive will be attached to the nitrogen, turned into NHCN. This is called N-bromoethyl cyanamide. This is said to be a cyanamide. So cyanamide is the compound finally originated starting from azitidine 2-one. The starting material, whatever we are taking, is azitidine 2-one, which can be reduced with the lithium aluminum hydride. We got this amide turned into a amine system and treated with this reagent called bromonitrile. And what happens, it will be added to two ends of the ring system. Bromo will be added carbon terminal, and the cyano group will be added to the nitrogen terminal, so that it turned into N2-bromoethyl cyanamide as the final product. That is provided in the option number 1 only. Nitrogen will be added with cyano, nitrogen will be added with bromo. Cyano is the correct combination rather than N-bromo. So for question number 145, option number 1 is the correct answer. By this, entire series of CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science June 2014 Part C was completed. By this, successfully we completed June 2014 Chemical Science question paper. Detailed solved question paper is available on the channel called World of Competitive Chemistry. So thank you very much for your patience listening. Thank you one and all.